Hello, I'm Angela Reed. I'm a Florida Master Gardener volunteer, and I had an herb nursery in Keno, Oregon for almost 12 years. So that's where the name Keno comes from. We immigrated to Florida, and I have a nursery business there, and it's on a smaller scale, and I'm sort of semi-retired. But that doesn't mean that I can't be available to answer your questions, because as a Master Gardener volunteer, we have to do so many volunteer hours a year. So if you want to send me stuff and I can answer it, then I can mark that down. So it helps me. So don't think that you're taking up too much of my time. All right. And another reason that I started the herb nursery in Florida was because there wasn't any other sources. No one was just specializing in herbs. And since I have been doing it for so long, I know that there's 300 different kinds of basil, and which kind of basil, if you want to order the seeds from, that's what you should be growing because it's easy to grow. On the other hand, these, I came out of my shade house in Florida, and they have been, and what we left on the first, and this is the first time I moved them out of the bus. They've been up against the windshield for 8 days. So if we can do it, and there's a secret to everything, and this is what I want to share with everyone, is what the secrets are. Because it's like some people say they have talent. Well, they came upon what the secret is. The basic secret to know about herbs, and the most important thing, is that they require a lower pH. You almost have to think of them as a tomato plant. They require acid. And for instance, I know you can't see this, but I can email this to you. All of this information can be emailed to you so you can have it on hand. But basil and dill and parsley, rosemary, these sounds like some things you may have killed along the way, okay? All right. Here's the secret to that is pH. The water comes out of your faucet, 7.0. So every time you're watering that acidic herb, you're neutralizing it. So you're giving it alkalinity when it needs acid. Yes?
Does that include well water too?
Oh, especially well water. I have well water. Yeah. Yeah, especially. So here's the secret, and it's not 100% organic, and for the organic people, you want it to be 100%. This is sterilized. This is redwood bark mulch. And you'll see this is on everything. Okay. And that's what's on the surface of this. Why I do that is because every time I water it, a little bit of acid goes back to restore the pH that the herb needs. So this is why this doesn't take a lot of plant food. It doesn't take a lot of things. With herbs, if you just keep the pH balanced, that's all you really need to do. You can put in a little grow stick if you want. There's Miracle Grow. There's all kinds of plant foods out there, just depending on what works for you, what you like to use. Being in the bush, you probably want to stick one of those little sticks in there for tomato plants, and then you're pretty well covered. So between the bark and that, you're pretty well covered. Now, the other thing I like to do, and I'm not really pushing grow bags, but I'm pushing grow bags because they make life so easy. The theory behind the grow bags, and you see this everywhere. Now this is a picture of a 50-gallon grow bag that I had my tomato plants in last year. It was so easy because our backyard is Florida sand. So with all the sand, you have to dig down really far, and we're 5 miles from the beach. So we'd have to really dig down far, and we still wouldn't get any clay. We're still going to get a little bit of border of clay, and then you get more sand. So it's much easier if you want to make your own soil, is to do it in a grow bag. And with a grow bag, let's just say if you're just going to use a pot. If you're using a flower pot, what's going to happen in a flower pot is the roots are going to start winding around the bottom of the pot and start coming out the bottom. When they start the process of winding around the bottom of the pot, they're already losing nutrients because all that's down there is leftover old water. There's no really soil down in the bottom of that pot because it's root bound. It's what they call root bound. When you use a grow bag, then when the root gets to the bottom, gets to the edge, it's called air pruning, and the air will just sort of tells the root, it kills it off, and the root just turns around and goes back in the bag where the soil is. So it continues to grow, and it would take, I've had herbs in here for like 3 years. So, and these don't deteriorate. You want to get the kind, but I'm going to have them at the next Skoolie Forum. I can't believe I didn't order them. But you see this cross stitching on these. I'm going to pass this around so you can get a feel of it and see how sturdy it is. So what I skipped over is when you get your grow bag or fabric bag or whatever you're going to plant it in, even if you use a plastic pot, in the bottom you're going to need drainage. Please tell me you're not going to put rocks in the bottom that you got out of your driveway.
That's what I do.
Okay, so we don't know who or what peed on those rocks. So that's why it's not a good idea, because you're just now introduced bacteria into your pot, into your growing environment without even realizing that, you get this little foamy stuff, a little mold on top of the soil. You wonder where that came from? Well, you brought it with you with the rocks. Styrofoam. Recycle the styrofoam. Put this in the bottom of your pots. Just break it up, put it in the bottom of your pot, and that'll give you the aeration for the roots that you really need, and you're recycling. First of all, though, and it sounds ridiculous, but put it in your mouth first, because they do make these out of corn sometimes too. So there's this really Fruit Loop shaped packing material, and when it gets wet it melts and turns into a gel, and that would be equally nasty, so don't do that. So you want to just use your regular styrofoam that you get in the grocery store. Okay? You put it in the bottom of the grow bag, yeah. Just because it's nice to have a little bit, in case you decide, oh, well, it's been in the sun all day, poor baby, it needs extra water. Well, it really doesn't need extra water. But if you do that by mistake, you've got some styrofoam in the bottom, okay? And then you're going to give those roots a little bit of room to grow. We've had these, and Josh can attest to this, we had this in the top of the bus, right in the front, right by the window, slid around back and forth. You could put Velcro on the bottom of this and Velcro on your dashboard, and that would stop it from sliding. But these got bounced around. It didn't do much damage to them. So it worked out pretty well. So where are you going to get these herbs from that you're going to start, because you're traveling all over the place? This time of year, there's very few garden centers that are going to have herbs. So where you're going to get your herbs, and where you're going to get the freshest herbs anyway, even during the year, is in the produce section. So remember these are hanging up where you get your lettuce and stuff. All right? So you're going to take them out of here. Okay? And that's what this are. I don't recommend doing rosemary, because rosemary does better if you root it in soil, but you can root rosemary in water. Now everyone's going to get one of these, if we have enough of these. This is just basil. So I'm jumping into how to root what I also do a class called Plants from Produce, Gardening on a Dime, which is how you can regrow lettuce and things like that. But this is what you can buy basil in the store, and if it has enough, it's called nodes, technical term, called joints, armpits, whatever you want to call it. And what you want to do, and here's one that, another thing I do is when I go to an Asian restaurant, and if you order something, ask for Thai basil on the side, because that is the easiest thing to root, is Thai basil. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take the Thai basil, and here's a joint here. Okay, go ahead and pass this around. So before I cut it, I want everybody to understand that is where you're going to cut it. No, it's called different kind of joint than that, but you know, play on words. Okay, well, we'll call it an armpit for the rest of the class then, all right? But if you look at the rosemary, you wouldn't want to just root this. First of all, this is dead tissue down here. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut it, and then you're going to just strip it off. Just strip it off, and that is what you're going to put in the water. But before you do that, you want to wake it up because it's been refrigerated, it's been, you know, hanging in the produce section. Now you can use organic or raw honey because it's an antibacterial. What you really are doing is you want to give it a growth hormone. You can also crush up an aspirin, but you want to dip this. First you want to cut it off at an angle, and then you want to dip it in this before you put it in the water. Just kind of shake off the excess and put it in the water, which we're going to use the little thing. Okay.
In water.
Yes. Her question was, what do? You dip it in the honey, and then you cut off a new opening at an angle, and then you put it in the water, and you can use this.
So you said you could use crush up an aspirin, and that would be instead of using the honey?
Instead of using the honey, you could use an aspirin. You can buy rooting hormone. All right. So what I would do with this is another one. This has been riding around for 9 days. I'm surprised it's not totally dead. But, okay, there we go. Take that. This is still viable. So we're going to cut this at an angle. You're going to make sure that you cover this completely. And some of it's going to fall off when it hits the water.
Where can you get that rooting hormone?
You can get the rooting hormone. If you want to purchase standard rooting hormone, you can get it would be in the garden section of most of your grocery stores at Lowe's, Home Depot, you know, any garden center is going to have the rooting hormone. But it's not especially necessary, and because if you're on the road, you know, how many people get their bus into the unless it's a Walmart garden center, then you've got everything right at your fingertips.
But nowadays, Walmart garden centers are Christmas centers.
They are. They are Christmas centers.
Either that or the honey?
Either that or the honey, or you can go all out and get, if I have, let's say I have 200 cuttings that I want to do, and I need to know that they've got to be all done on time, then I'll use one of the commercial ones that the growers use. And this is Azos from Extreme Gardening. All right, and you can get that. So what I'm getting at is there's so many choices, you know. If you just happen to eat out at an Asian restaurant and you got Thai basil on the side and all you have on hand is aspirin, use aspirin. So you just crush up the aspirin, and you want to take a little pinch of it, and you want to just put it on just like that lid to the aspirin bottle, and just move it around in there, get it completely covered, and then put that in the water. And that'll root. But don't take this and put it right in the hot sun, because it needs to be, this water's going to boil.
So the only time you cut it again at an angle is if you put the honey on it?
No, if you're going to root it.
No matter what medium you use.
No matter what medium that you're going to use to root.
But I'm saying, so you cut it once, and then you dipped it into honey, and then you cut it again, right?
No,
No.
you only cut it one time. Yeah, just cut it.
Below the joint.
Yes.
And does the joint, the roots grow out of that? Or
That's it right there. Because if the roots, sometimes you see, oh well, no, I've got something coming from the stem. So the stem, I'm rooting it. No, that's rotted material. That's just rotting material. Unless there is a bump on it, a joint, armpit. A node is the technical term. But otherwise, it's not going to root. You see all of these roots here. Once it starts rooting at the node, then it'll get so full sometimes it'll burst. So, here, let me pass this. Yeah. Go ahead and would you hand this to her so she can see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you're confused, keep asking, okay? So we want to make sure that we get it. Now, depending on the time of year, once it starts to root, and you have a root, you can put soil in the bottom of this, and you can make your little greenhouse. Now, when I'm starting seeds, I use the rotisserie chicken. Those are the best little greenhouses on the market right now. Are the rotisserie chicken boxes? Save them; they are valuable. In a pinch, if you have a lot to do, which you're not going to have a lot of room in your bus to do it with, then you could get something like this for a mini greenhouse. Okay? Yes.
I have a question about this. So you said that some of this is dead material. Are you stripping this off, or where how can you tell the difference?
No, I stripped that off in the very beginning before I put it.
Oh, okay.
So that's about 2 weeks worth of roots right
So
there.
This is good. This is like what
This is ready to plant, ready to go.
Do you change the water when you're mowing?
You would want to change the water probably every 3 to 4 days. You can just tell by the color. This one, obviously. This one,
When you say this one, obviously, does that mean that one's done?
yeah, because it's got pieces floating in it, and it's off color. And what you're going for is something that's like more crystal clear. Now, I've done an experiment with these polymer crystals, and these are water storing. And if you get a cutting today, or if you want to take a cutting from something, let's go and pass this around. This is polymer crystals. This is the same thing that comes in baby diapers, that comes in your little pill packets. It's all the same. It's what you call inert. It will not contaminate anything. It will not change on you. It is just a nice, clean moisture source. And if you're going to travel for any distance, but be careful, because that is like, a quarter cup, or even less than that. What you see, that whole bag.
That little, you're saying that little packet that's...
That little packet, yes.
So
could you just cut open that little packet and use those?
That's what you do. That's what you do. Because this is almost $20. That's ridiculous. So let me go ahead and pass this around there. Yeah. And you can open it up and look at it. This is they're dry. See, they just look like dry. They look like nothing. But if that bag got wet, it would be terrible. So that is what you can use. If you don't want to be adding water every day to this, you can put a few. See, that's what's in here. If you put too many, you'll deprive it of oxygen. So, and it needs a little bit of both, see? So that's kind of what this is here. These little jelly things. And these do not harm aquatic life. They don't hurt anything. And they've been in baby diapers for years. They haven't hurt your kids. So I think they are safe for your plants. But you can make your own opinion about what you want to use. All right, so. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. All right, you've rooted your cutting, now you planted it. You know that, because there's going to be questions on this afterwards, and whoever gets them right gets a prize. So just warning you now. I'm just going to give you a review. All right, so you've planted it. You've got soil. Let's say you've got styrofoam in the very bottom. All right, and then from here to here, you've got your soil. And then the top layer, you've got at least 1 inch of bark. So when you want to check it to see is there enough water in here? Do I need to water? You want to stick your finger down in it, in the side, which is farthest away from the stem. And if you feel dampness up to here, you don't water it today. I think I've watered these in the last 8 days. I've watered them twice, and these have gotten bumped around with the wind and then in the sunshine. So they're doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good. So you've got it planted, and now your next problem is bugs, right? So if you don't know if you look at this, now this is the basil that's so cheap that you get, it's easy to start, doesn't last long. You've got to think of it as an annual. It's a total annual. It will not, this vanilla spice basil that's in here, and even Thai basil, can get to be a bush that's 3 feet wide and 3 feet tall. This is going to die on you the first season, no matter how well you treat it. The fact that this has got a woody stem is just because I used to own a nursery, and that was my job. But I mean, not everybody knows what signs to look for. So what I'm going to show you now, and we're going to get brutal with this guy because we're going to pass this around. Now you see this nice pretty flower here? Wrong. This flower has already changed the taste of this basil. Most basil and most herbs, you do not want to flower. You don't need UV lights. You don't need fancy lighting. That's only if you want flowers, okay? They're going to try and sell you these grow systems. Oh, you need this. No, you don't. You don't need a grow system. If you get at least 4 hours of daylight a day in your bus, then you're good. And I'm talking just about the lighting that you have in the bus. You don't need full spectrum. Full spectrum is only for flowers. Okay? So that's what makes this so good in the van. Now, what I'd like you to look at is the reason you don't want it to flower is you see how fat these leaves are at the bottom. I'm going to pass this around. The closer it gets to flowering, the tinier the leaves are, because it's sending all its energy to make new seeds. So it needs to send all its energy into your lasagna, okay? Not into making new seeds, because that's not why you have the basil in the first place. So another thing wrong with this basil is it has insects, which this basil thrives on insects. So if you look at the bottom of the leaf, the underside, you're going to see little tiny, it looks like dirt. That's not what it is. Anytime, no, they're not chiggers. They're not chiggers. I repeat, that was the question. But it's aphids and it's, I don't know, smaller black bugs. But you see what it's doing to this plant. Yeah. If you're hungry, no, they're not going to hurt. They're not going to hurt your recipe at all. But if you don't know what it is, you don't want to go spraying for something. So this, you also get this in the produce section. So this I would put over the plant. And then I would try and see, this is a salad bag, you know, that you would use. Oh, look at you. Sneaky. Okay. So you can put it over it, and you're going to be able to trap what's in there. So when you take this off, you're going to take it off, you're going to look inside of it, and you're going to be able to see what is actually eating your basil, your herb, whatever plant.
How long does that stay on there?
I would leave it on for 24 to 48 hours.
Like aphids are okay, right? But mites are bad.
Well, no, aphids will just destroy the leaf. You'll see if it's still going around. You'll see what it. And aphids will just suck the juice out of the plant itself, every inch of moisture in that leaf, and You could, not that one, but the one that's going around, you're going to see the one has aphid damage on it. So, Captain Jack, one of my favorite guys. He makes 2 different kinds of insect killer. The other one, this is just super insecticidal soap.
That one's organic, right?
It is for organic gardening. And what you want to do is you would like to make sure that since you're going to be eating it, you want it to be safe because you're going to be putting it on your food. Most things that they sell for, if they sell it for tomato plants and for vegetable plants and such, that's the first thing that you want to look for. If it's for grass, no. But if it's for vegetable plants or fruits, then as long as you wash it off, at least the day before that you're going to use it, then you're still safe with that. Now the other,
Salad mesh bag doesn't work. Something more potent. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, if you see something in the salad mesh bag,
Salad mesh bag is only to see if you have bugs.
yeah, it's only to see if you have bugs. Okay. If you can't see it under the leaf, but you know there's something going on and you don't know what it is and you don't know what to spray for, it could be an army worm or a caterpillar type worm, and that's a whole different thing. Soap is not gonna. It's just gonna give them a bath. Is all that's gonna do.
Army worms, they look like a turd.
They look like they have army stripes. Like
Yeah.
Camo colored stripes.
Exactly.
Tan and green and.
Because I have them on my lemon tree. Those are
Yeah.
They look like
Yeah.
They're the only ones plants, not you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they only want.
We haven't had any bugs with us.
No.
bringing all of it.
Okay, this is Captain Jack's makes a line of organic gardening stuff, and also neem oil from the neem tree. The neem oil, you can mix that up yourself. You can buy it in a little spray bottle. So I had excuse me?
neem oil and water.
Yeah, but it'll say what the ratio is going to be. So in a 100-foot greenhouse in Keno, Oregon, I had my herbs pretty much would be taken care of. My pest control was neem oil and Captain Jack's. Now Captain Jack also, when it comes to the army worms, they make their other one that doesn't say soap. It has spinoside in it. That is a byproduct of when they make rum, hence the name Captain Jack. So they didn't know what to do with this stuff. And then they found out that all the caterpillars were floating on top, that it killed caterpillars and it killed little crawly things. So,
And the other Captain Jack is great for tomato hornworms.
yeah, it is.
And the other Captain Jack is good for it.
Yeah, the other Captain Jack is good for eating.
Yeah, the one that doesn't say soap. Captain Jack makes two kinds. One says soap, and one says for caterpillars and moths, and just what I like about it, there's a picture of all the insects on the front, so you don't have to be bilingual. Wherever you are, you can just look at the picture and you know that it's going to work. I was even at I looked at the garden center when I was in Mexico with my daughter, and even though it was in Spanish, I could just see from the pictures that I could recognize what the product was. Okay, so we've gone over how to plant your grow bag and how to keep the moisture in the grow bag using the polymer crystals. Instead of buying them, we're going to save them out of our medication bottles. If someone at the swarm has babies, you may want to buy a diaper off of them, unused of course, but a diaper, because one diaper will last you like a whole season. Okay. And this is the bark mulch, and you can smell it, and it smells pretty good. That you can get in smaller bags. It's kind of hard to get in smaller bags. You might want to go in with someone.
I was saying,
And for $2.98, you get a yard of it, you know. So, yeah, I don't know how else you would use that. You put that, you know, around your rug, wherever you're parked. I don't know. So, okay.
So when you use the polymer clay, you use that for rooting, and that's not after you planted them in soil, right? You just have styrofoam, dirt.
The polymer crystals?
Yeah.
No, I mix it in with the soil too.
You did, okay.
Yeah, I mix it in with the soil also. Just don't do too much because the chemical chain will be broken up and it will deprive your plant and roots of oxygen. So, in other words, there's so much of this in here, these have got to be planted or passed out today. Because otherwise I'm going to have to take it out of here and just put it in fresh water for a while. Because it's been in here for more than a week. So. Don't use more than a teaspoon. Or half a teaspoon.
So what's the white
Yeah.
stuff on the bark?
Sand. It's just sand.
Florida sand?
Florida. Sorry, yeah, it's everywhere. It's in my hair, it's everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got sand.
Yeah. So, what have we covered? I think we've kind of covered everything. Yep. This is just a mister because I thought it might get too warm in the front of the bus. But I found that I didn't really even need to mist the cuttings. Because all I ended up doing was when I misted the cuttings, see now this had already started to root. When you spray water on something in direct sunlight, it's going to create little magnifying spots on it and it's going to kill your plant. So do not mist. If you think something looks dry, wait until you're in a shady spot and then let the leaves completely dry before you put it back in the sun. And like I said, you can, when you get to where you're going, you can take these outside, but then critters could come up and chew on them, bugs could, and then you could bring it back in your bus to your other plants. So realistically, my whole point is you should be able to grow a garden in your bus, in your van, wherever you are. And you should still be able to grow enough to season your food. And the whole point about herbs is you need to, now this is really overgrown. This is oregano. And this should be used, and always used from the tips down, because this is where the flavor is going to be in the first place. And then every time you cut, let's see here. Every time you cut a branch, whether it's basil, it's going to go off in another direction. It's like, okay, here's something that not everybody knows. In professional nurseries, they have these brushes. They look like you're going into a giant car wash because they go across the cuttings and sort of brush them across the head. And if you even Google it, and it's called brushing for height control. Because when you pat, and what you can do, people say talk to your plants. I don't talk to my plants because I will pat them on the head. That gives them more of a growth spurt than talking to them. So if you press on just the top, then what it's going to do, I mean, if someone hits you on the head, you're instinctively going to do that. So they're going to grow sideways. They're going to get bushier and bushier. And if you pinch the tops, just pinch the very top, then you're going to get 2 more branches out that way. So if you're going to grow herbs in your Skoolie, make sure that you use them. Don't just have them there and say, oh, that's a pretty flower. Wrong. You know, if you want flowers, get another plant, okay? This is right out of the produce section, okay? And I use this a lot. and I will cut it.
What is it?
This is green onion. Just green onion. And this is just green onion. Whoa. Okay, you really were happy in there. Planted about this deep. All right, pass this around. Now this, you can use, if you keep using the top of it, you can see here where I have cut this was in a recipe, this was in a recipe. Then, so cut one, the next one grows up taller, cut one, the next grows up. You only buy one of these a year, really, if you only use the tops.
So the bottom will keep growing bigger.
Yeah. And you get to where the bottom's not that good. I mean, the tops have got too much of the yellow on it. You know they had enough light and they've had enough water. Then it's time to yank it out and start over, because what are they like? Three in a bunch, or sometimes they're 50 cents.
And they're teeny.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very small bulbs.
You can do it with garlic too.
Yeah.
Leeks.
Mm-hmm. So that's all that one is. All right, so now question and answer time. Okay. First one to answer. Till we run out of these, we'll get a prize. Okay.
I know.
All right. Okay, big answer, and make sure everybody knows this one is. That's okay. We'll eat this tonight. Oh. Pretty good. Okay. When you are planting your rooted cutting,
I don't do bugs.
would you or would you not? Okay, what are you going to put in the bottom of your pot? Whether it's plastic? Styrofoam. All right. Styrofoam. Okay. You get to pick one?
Ooh, thank you.
Okay. So do you have to count up on the nodes, or you just pick a good one? You pick the healthiest one? You pick a good one and strip it. That's right. Okay. All right. Okay, now what is the pH of herbs? Yeah. But what is the highest pH that you can live? 6. He's right at 6, because 6 it goes any higher than 6, you've already started to kill your herb.
7%.
I'll take the
7% what comes out of your faucet. But when you bought that plant was at 5.5. So
I had a question in that regard. Is there a
Yeah.
way that you can test the pH? Like,
you can buy one of these,
okay,
but you can pretty much just tell by looking at the leaves.
okay,
Okay, if the leaves are started to yellow
yep.
and they look like they're getting brown and yeah, and actually, if the new growth doesn't look healthy, because the new growth is what's going to tell you what is. So, do you have to go to? This is a true or false question. Do you have to go to a garden center to get? You don't have to go to a garden center. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Your previous question, do you want like a minimum of 3 nodes
Yeah.
It always counts to have the 3 minimum.
Well, that's a vine.
Yes.
So that would be different. And sometimes in your, if you're getting herbs and something like this, you may not get on your basil, you're not going to get 3 joints, 3 nodes on it. You're going to get, you'll be lucky to get 1 or 2.
Okay.
So what you can do is you can cut closer to the very tip of the bottom. If there's a node there, then you can actually do that, because what's going to happen is going to root at that node and the one above it also.
Okay. And if it has no nodes, you use that for cooking that night.
Use that for cooking that night, because you're not going to get a plant out of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So, run out of questions here. Where are you going to get the redwood bark? And what are you going to do when somebody says, but that's not organic?
Punch 'em.
No. You know, the key word is, thank you. Rinse it off. Yeah. Yeah. And then my standard answer is, but it's alive. It may not be organic, but it's alive, and I can rinse it off before I cook it. And if you're that worried, if you're on the road and where are you going to get your groceries in the first place?
Right.
So, all right. So, what can you use as a rooting hormone besides a rooting hormone?
Or honey.
Honey. Or aspirin. Who said aspirin? Okay. All right, here we go. Get one. Okay. All right. So, why are grow bags easier to use on the bus and healthier for your plants on the bus? Who said air pruning? There you go, air pruning. That is the whole secret right there, is air pruning. Okay. All right, so we are done. Thank you everybody for coming. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Oh, well, good. I'm.
To send you an email.
Yes, please, please. Everyone got a card, so you can send me an email. Okay.
Also throwing it out there, if you go the neem route, there's lots of good recipes for salve on your skin with neem.
Neem is really good for a lot of things. It is.
Wait, I have a question about neem actually. I forgot. I'm
Yeah.
like worried about burning my plants with neem. Is that a thing I should worry about? Or
Did you? It depends. Are you getting it right out of the bottle that says neem oil spray for plants?
I had neem oil that I was mixing with water, and I put it on a jalapeno plant, and it started getting dots, but it might have been in the sun.
It might have been in the sun. You want to do that in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're not sure, if the smell is too strong, then go ahead and just dilute it more.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, you can mix it to your own specifications for what's going to work for you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't bring any bad kitty catnip just for that. But I do have a catnip that I sell called Bad Kitty. And Tootsie's not allowed to have it anymore. They've banned it in the bus. So.
But how do you keep the cat out of the herbs?
Yeah.
Yeah, is there...
Are these herbs going to be harmful? Are there herbs that are harmful for cats and dogs?
I would think onions.
But they wouldn't want to eat them though.
Yeah, they would probably shy away from it.
Yeah.
But they want to get in the dirt. Could you, like...
Well, that's what the redwood bark is for. There's no exposed dirt. And has Tootsie messed with these plants?
She doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. If you put it down at dog level, they might want to lift their leg on it, I guess. You know, but most places where you're going to put a plant is going to be on your counter, on your dashboard. And the whole point of me doing this today is because I want everybody to just experiment, okay? And then hopefully for the February, Michelle will allow me to come and again and do this. And I promise then I will bring starter plants. If I can talk Josh into bringing enough plants to sell.
We can all show you what we've grown.
Oh, I would love to see that. Yes.
Bring your homework.
Yes. Do your homework and send me a picture of what you're growing in the bus, or the van, or the boxcar, whatever you've got. Okay? All right. And if somebody wants to take some of these and put them in water, I don't have that many, but I certainly do not want to keep these because these are rooted cuttings. Oh, of what? Okay, well, sometimes you just have to taste.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll take
This one I think is, what is this one? Romanesco Italian basil. Okay, that's Italian basil. And this, my favorite, vanilla spice basil. Vanilla spice basil.
Can we just take one?
Yes, until I run out, yeah.
I'm gonna get up.
But there's plenty of oregano here, and I can give everyone cuttings of oregano.
That one's flowered right there.
They look
Gotta
so
pinch that
good.
flower off.
Yes, yes. That's the first thing. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna cut it right there.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what was that first one?
Makes a nice tea.
What was this one?
That is Romanesco basil. It's a hardier. It's not as wimpy as that one.
And this basil has furry leaves. Most basil like this doesn't have furry leaves.
Yeah. There's 300 kinds of basil, so don't get